The captivating life and career of Sean Connery.
But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories.
Best known for his work on the first 7 James Bond films, Sean Connery grew from a disadvantaged youth in Edinburgh to become one of the biggest Hollywood stars of all time. However, he's more than just James Bond, winning countless awards and recognition for roles outside of The British Spy. He's lived quite the life and in the process has changed Hollywood forever. Take a deeper look into the life of Sean Connery and the story of a young boy delivering milk who became one of the biggest celebrities of his time. Sean is his middle name, although most people only know him as Sean Connery. He was actually born Thomas Sean Connery on August 25, 1930. As a young boy, he went by Tommy, which eventually evolved into Big Tam. However, he transitioned to using his middle name long before he was ever an actor. Apparently, he had a friend named Seamus, so his friends would purposefully call him Sean whenever Seamus was around to get a rise out of him. In the end, the name stuck. His first job was as a milkman. Still just a young boy, Connery worked as a milk delivery man in his hometown of Edinburgh, Scotland. Through his job, Connery became incredibly familiar with the city, delivering milk to local neighborhoods. He expressed his knowledge of the city when he claimed, "When I took a taxi during a recent Edinburgh Film Festival, the driver was amazed that I could put a name to every street we passed." "How come?" he asked. "As a boy, I used to deliver milk round here," I said. "So what do you do now?" That was rather harder to answer. Surely, it was refreshing. His cab driver didn't know who he was. Although it took Connery years to realize his family's financial situation growing up, apparently, his family was incredibly poor. However, regardless of how poor his parents were, he never understood how serious it was. This is because everyone he grew up with was poor as well, and he didn't pay attention to things like that as a child. Supposedly, his parents couldn't even afford to buy him a crib as a baby, so he slept in a dresser drawer. Talk about a rags to riches story. When Connery came of age, he decided to join the Royal Navy as a way to serve his country and provide him opportunities in the future. During his time in the Navy, he acquired 2 tattoos. One said, "Scotland Forever," and the other just, "Mum and Dad." Unfortunately, he was discharged from service after it was discovered that he had a duodenal ulcer. However, his ailment wasn't random. His family had suffered from the same disorder for generations. After leaving the military, Sean Connery performed a series of odd jobs just to keep his head above water. He worked as a lorry driver, a lifeguard at the Portobello swimming baths, laborer, and a coffin polisher, among other things. Yet, one of the strangest jobs he did was work as a nude model for the Edinburgh College of Art, where he was paid 15 shillings an hour. One of the artists who painted Connery on several occasions described him as very straight, slightly shy, too beautiful for words, a virtual Adonis. After a brief interest in bodybuilding, Connery turned to football, a game he played since he was a boy. He ended up playing on semi-professional teams and was scouted by Matt Busby, the manager of Manchester United. Busby was impressed with Connery's build and his skills at the sport and offered him £25 a week on the spot. Although Connery was tempted to accept the offer, he was thinking about his future. He recalled, "I realized that a top-class footballer could be over the hill by the age of 30, and I was already 23. I decided to become an actor, and it turned out to be one of my more intelligent moves." In 1951, Connery was working backstage at the King's Theatre, where he became interested in acting. He heard about auditions for the musical South Pacific and scored the role of a chorus boy. Slowly, he worked his way up in the production, and the next year had one of the main roles. During the production of South Pacific, Connery met iconic actor Michael Caine, and the two became lifelong friends. It was also during that time Connery landed a part as an extra in the film Lilacs in the Spring, his first film role. Actor Robert Henderson got Connery his first film role in 1957 in No Road Back. He played a minor gangster who had a speech impediment. That same year, he earned his first leading role as Mountain McClintock on the BBC television series Requiem for a Heavyweight. In the following years, Connery continued to appear in various television series and films, slowly building his reputation as an actor. Little did he know that the most significant role of his career was right around the corner. In 1958, Connery was filming for a major role in Another Time, Another Place with actress Lana Turner. At one point, Turner's overbearing boyfriend, Johnny Stampino, came to Los Angeles. Stampino rushed onto the film set and pointed a weapon at Connery, only to have Connery quickly disarm him and put him on his back. After Stampino was banned from the set and sent home on a plane, Connery learned that he had criminal ties. He was forced to lay low after he began receiving death threats from Cohen's henchmen. In 1962, Connery was offered the role to play British secret agent James Bond. However, he was hesitant about accepting the part because he was unsure about making a series. On the other hand, he realized that if the series was a success, it would more than likely skyrocket his career. He starred as Bond in the first 5 movies: Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, and You Only Live Twice. Then, when he thought his Bond days were over, he reprised the role for Diamonds Are Forever and Never Say Never Again. All 7 films were successful, and Connery's version of Bond was named the 3rd greatest hero in cinema history by the American Film Institute. Ian Fleming, the original author of the James Bond novels, was uncertain that Connery would be right for the role. He stated, "He's not what I envisioned of James Bond looks. I'm looking for Commander Bond and not an overgrown stuntman." He also added that Connery looked unrefined. Supposedly, Connery owes a lot to Dana Broccoli, producer Albert Broccoli's wife, who convinced everyone that he was the right man for the job. After watching Dr. No, Ian Fleming retracted his statements about Connery and was so impressed that he wrote Connery's past into James Bond's character. While filming for Thunderball, Connery found himself face to face with a live shark when filming the scene in Emilio Largo's pool. Connery was hesitant about the scene after reading the script and had a plexiglass partition built in the pool between him and the sharks. Unfortunately, the fixture was not entirely stable and one of the sharks managed to get through and was coming right for Connery. The James Bond actor was then forced to swim and get out of the pool as fast as possible. It didn't take long for Connery to get tired with the Bond character, or the whole world referring to him as James Bond. He went so far as to say, "I am fed up to here with the whole Bond bit." His good friend Michael Caine also explained, "If you were his friend in these early days, you didn't raise the subject of Bond. He was, and is, a much better actor than just playing James Bond, but he became synonymous with Bond. He'd be walking down the street and people would say, 'Look, there's James Bond.'" As time passed, Connery came to make peace with the character that made him a star. Released in 1983, although Never Say Never Again did well at the box office, it fell on some incredibly hard times during production. There was animosity between the producer and director, there were numerous financial issues, and the Fleming estate trustees even tried to stop the film. On top of all that, the stunt choreographer Steven Seagal broke Connery's wrist during a rehearsal. After the movie wrapped, Connery took a 2-year break from acting where he was able to positively reset his state of mind. Of course, Sean Connery had his fair share of girlfriends and flings throughout his life, all of who fell head over heels for Connery. Yet, surprisingly, he has only had 2 wives. His first wife was Diane Cilento, whom he was married to from 1962 to 1973. Together they had a son, actor Jason Connery. However, Cilento claimed that Connery was physically and mentally abusive, bring about the end of their marriage. Since 1975, Connery has been married to the Moroccan-French painter Micheline Roquebrune. Back in 2003, Connery starred in his 93rd and final film titled The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The film was an absolute flop and may have been linked to his unannounced retirement. He began denying all roles after that, such as reprising his character in Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull since 2003. It wasn't until he received his Lifetime Achievement Award in 2008 that he confirmed his retirement to the public. Since then, he has done voice acting here and there with no intention of coming out of retirement. Caine stated that Connery didn't want to play small parts about old men and they weren't offering him any young parts in romantic leads. In interviews, Connery has stated that he was offered to play the wizard Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but turned it down because he didn't understand the script. According to CNN, he was offered upwards of 15% of the worldwide box office revenue just to take the role. If he had agreed to play the part, he would have made over $400 million from the 3 movies. This was just 2 years before he made his final film. On July 5, 2000, Connery was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II of the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh. He was nominated for knighthood in 1997 but was denied by Donald Dewar in 1998 due to his political views. Connery was 69 at the time and proclaimed that, "It's one of the proudest days of my life." Connery and the Queen exchanged a few words, but apparently, all the Queen asked was how often Connery returned to his hometown. After Connery had sold his villa in Spain in 1999, he and his wife were investigated for tax evasion, accused of defrauding the Spanish treasury of £5.5 million. Connery was eventually cleared by Spanish officials, although his wife and 16 others were charged. Not long after, there was a rumor that Connery was in tax exile after moving out of the country. So, in 2003, he released documents proving that he had paid £3.7 million in UK taxes between 1997 to 1998 and 2002 to 2003. In October 2020, Sean Connery passed away at the age of 90. The actor reportedly passed away peacefully in his sleep while on vacation at the Bahamas. His son said that Connery had been feeling ill for some time leading up to his death. Thankfully, he was surrounded by family, including his wife and sons when he passed away. He leaves behind an incredible legacy and films that will never be forgotten.